Jessica.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Stephanie.
And you are listening to Pastors' Wives Tell All,
a podcast by pastors' wives for church leaders and anyone desiring to take a peek inside our glass house.
We are breaking down walls and crushing pastors' wives stereotypes within the church.
We want pastors' wives and other ministry leaders to know that they are not alone in this. Plus, this is basically therapy for the three of us with a whole lot of dance parties. Whoop, whoop.
Hey friends, welcome back to Pastors' Wives Tell All. And we three are sitting here together about to talk to you about when friends in the church or people you serve with move away or go away from your church. And it's sad because you love them and you're not ending on bad terms. No. But it's still, your heart is just a little bit broken.
Yeah.
It's a
broken heart. Yeah. I know Jessica brought this up, and I know that she may look tough. She's got a big heart, and it's soft, and it does hurt her and makes her sad when people have to go on, even though she's happy for them and she's proud of them. Yeah. So I'm gonna let her start this conversation out.
Yeah. Okay. So this came to mind because I was having a conversation with one of my friends that's at my church right now that potentially could leave in the future. And I started just thinking, because everything that's kind of ministry related, I go, okay, how can we talk about this with pastor wives? And so I went away from the meal going, no, she can't leave.
Yeah.
And those aren't good reasons. And I say no. I vote no. Lord, are we on the same page?
Does my vote count?
Does my vote count in your will? And he's like, no.
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, it's just, I think that we don't talk about this a lot in the church and on the podcast. We definitely have talked a lot about when people definitely need to leave because they bad seed, peace out, A-town down. Or when like things happen and they get mad because like the preacher doesn't preach enough scripture for them or, the carpet is the wrong color. So or good reasons. But this is friendship that hopefully y'all are making friends within your church, even if it's one person. And it doesn't even have to be friendship. It could just be the people of the church family that you are thinking about in your head right now that are doing an amazing job at what they do. They are serving well. They
would leave a hole if they left.
They would leave a massive hole if they left. And then your mind ultimately goes, who's going to fill their position?
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's no one at that moment. That doesn't mean that the Lord's not going to provide, and he will. Right. But like you can kind of go down a dark hole once you start thinking about that. So you know who you are out there, and I don't like the conversation. And I'm still talking to Jesus about leaving our church. But it would be for all good reasons. So we've all dealt with this. We've kind of talked through like the people that have left for good reason. God has called them to the mission field or called them to another church, or they're military. Gosh, I hate when military leave because, you know that you have to love them well quickly. But they get in and serve so quick because this is their life. And they serve so quick, but they know you might have like a year with them or 6 months with them. And it's heart-wrenching. So I think I'll say one that comes to mind. I'll talk about youth ministry for a minute. When my husband and I were in youth ministry, we just had this core group for so long. They were like the first ones that we had when we started our last church. And y'all know, if y'all have been in youth ministry, which both of these two have and are still in, Stephanie is, when you have a core that they are just some good kids that love the Lord, and you have discipled them and seen them grow, you have laughed, you have done life, they have been at your house every night, and you've just gone to their sports games, and then for them to graduate. And a lot of them, they do stay, but a lot of them go off to university or go off to YWAM or go to another state or do these things. And man, I struggle. I would struggle every season. I would start at the beginning of the year going, who's that last group that we have? Like we have one more year with them. And I'd start thinking like, who's going to fill their position? Who's going to fill their leadership positions? Who's going to be that goofy person that brings everyone in? And, you can just start and I'm very like, just very relational. So like any of that just is very sad to me, and I can go down a dark hole thinking about it. But it's hard. So we're going to be talking about that today and how, how we handle it. And so that first group, for me, I had to really just talk to Jesus a lot and start looking at like, who are the kids that are coming up that I have a connection with? And let's be honest, there are some people that you connect with. There's some teenagers you connect with and some you don't. Some church people you connect with and some you just don't. And so you do like have those friendships with them and those relationships with. So I had to do a whole lot of praying and going like, Lord, like I'm selfishly wanting all of them to stay. I'm wanting them to stay in the college group. I'm wanting them to come on Wednesdays and be leaders. And I'm wanting them to be in our college group and still be at our house and do all the things so they don't ever leave us.
Yeah.
And I know all of that. Like Jen and I were talking about this. Like it's all selfish, but not like bad selfish.
Right. Well, I mean, we're human. So obviously we're going to be super sad when people that we love leave.
Yeah.
But I think we just have to make ourselves... I mean, because in a lot of those cases, like the Lord has called them.
Yes.
And so I think it's just important to remember in those moments that like God, like they are so amazing and all the things that they have been able to do, you know, while they've been at your church, those are so amazing. And how much more amazing, like what more does God have for them? Like, I think you have to make yourself see the bigger picture in those moments, even though it's super sad when they leave.
I know.
I literally will just go like, God, I know. Because I think we have those people that have come and go and like you go, man, I'm just not close with them anymore. So then you go, oh my goodness, am I not going to be close with them when they leave? One of the practical things that I try to do is I go, Lord, they're yours. And I know that I will have so much more time with them in eternity.
Yeah.
And I will go there. So even on this side of heaven, if I'm not with them again and I don't have the friendship or the just getting to do ministry with them again, I will be with them for so much longer than here. And so I just try to go there because like it just, I don't know. I do not like when people leave. It is a real struggle for me.
So I had this friend and she and her husband were very involved in our youth group at the church we were at before the one we're at now. And they had come into town because they were not from this particular city. They were from nearby, but he was a football coach. And so they were at the local high school. And of course, my husband was very active up there. And they ended up starting to attend our church and almost immediately got involved in the youth group. They were just amazing people. And before there was you guys, I will say this friend, Jessica, you two would either get along or go get in a fight somewhere, you know? Just kidding.
Fight together or by like
you might fight together. You might go and take someone out, you know? I don't know.
So you're saying that she needs to be like next to Jessica if there was a zombie apocalypse.
These two and then Christy need to all go in the front. I'm talking about Christy Boulware, our friend. But the three of them, they'd be going out to war together. Yes. I can tell you that right now.
Love it.
Anyways, and she was super funny. And I felt like, you know, I could be more like, around her. And so I don't know. And she spoke her mind. So I never had to wonder, like, what is she thinking? What's going on? And so we built this friendship with them over 2 years, maybe close to 3. And then he was basically called away for another team in another city, quite a drive away. And that was probably the hardest move that I've had to experience as far as like people like moving on and moving away. Just they were so involved and they were so good with our teens and they were just great people and they were great friends. And I spent so much time with her. And so, and my husband, he loved her husband. And so I don't know, that to me was the hardest one.
So when they left, how did you handle it? How did the youth, like, was there someone to fill their spot? Like, how did all that go?
You know, after they left, it's a blur. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know there were people helping with the youth. Yes, there were other people who stepped up, which was great. I think with me and knowing the connection that we had, it was harder for me than it was for the youth.
Yeah.
When I look back on that time. And maybe even I know for my husband too.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of an outlet where we would go to their house and it was a little bit further away of a drive. And so when I say further away, it was like 15 minutes or 20 or I don't know. We just weren't around the corner from them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I don't know. I think the whole was more, I was feeling it more, but we did keep in contact. And I had to focus on the fact that like they knew God was calling them away and this was not where they were supposed to be. And now this is really exciting. He has taken a pastor position at a church and stepped down from coaching. So this is years later now.
Wow.
And so I'm super proud of them.
so
But
cool.
if God, if I had said, no, y'all need to stay or whatever, and they didn't take the steps needed to move where they are now,
Yeah.
that wouldn't have happened if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know God can do anything, but he was leading them somewhere.
Yeah.
And so to see like that unfold, I think that helps. And I know that right away that may not help, but if you can think about the future and if we want the best for our friends, I think knowing that the best is yet to come really helps.
Yeah.
Hey friend, we will get right back to our episode, but we want to take a moment and thank our patrons. You guys keep our podcast going.
If you are not a patron and you would like to consider donating to our podcast ministry, we would be so grateful, and we might even do a happy dance.
When you become a patron, you get perks like being the first to hear about special info and retreats. You get bonus episodes, monthly devotionals, lock screens, and more.
Plus, we have added a new $1 tier for those who believe in us and what we're doing, just because you love us.
So head on over to our show notes and click on the Patreon link to learn more. Now let's get back to our episode.
What about you, Jenna?
You know, when thinking about the topic of this podcast, I can't really think of like super specific times like in the last few years, but years and years ago. Okay.
Years ago.
The first church that Ian was ever, he was never on staff, but he was basically a full-time youth pastor with no pay, which was crazy. But we actually gained some amazing friendships, specifically with two couples, and we did ministry with them. Like one of the guys was the worship pastor at the time, and the other couple they weren't on staff. Actually, I take that back. One of them actually was on staff at one point. I think she was like the secretary or something at this church. So we were all doing ministry there together. And, you know, obviously we weren't at the place we are now in ministry, but I remember when they told us, one of the couples told us they were moving back home to Tennessee. Like the three couples, we were like three peas in a pod. Like when I tell you literally we would hang out, this is obviously before kids.
Yeah.
We would literally hang out multiple times a week. We'd have movie nights, game nights. They were our family. Yeah. And when they told us they were moving to Tennessee, one of the couples, we were like devastated. Yeah. Felt like somebody stabbed me in the chest. Yeah. Because I literally was pregnant with our daughter, and it was one of the hardest times I think I've went through like in life, honestly, because they were literally our only friends at that time that we did life with. So, and then not too long after that, the other couple ended up moving to Tennessee as well. And I was like, why do all of our friends move to Tennessee? Like, what is it about Tennessee?
I don't know, but if we could all move to Franklin, Tennessee together, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Franklin is beautiful. But the second couple that moved, they actually moved and became a part of a church up there. He was the worship leader at their church for several years. And now that couple actually lives in Jacksonville, in Florida. So, but then we had another couple that we did life with, and that they helped us. They were like really integral in the in the youth group at the last church we were at, they actually moved to Tennessee also. So see what I'm saying about Tennessee? What is it about Tennessee people?
All your people are leaving you.
I mean, have you been there?
It is. It's a good place to live. It is. So we have had people that we have done life with and done ministry with that have moved to Tennessee for good reasons. But man,
Like, how'd you handle it? Like, especially, like, even just stepping foot back into the church, especially when you're like, people are gone.
man.
You know what I mean? Like, it's hard.
It's
like,
not the
you have to
same.
continue.
It's definitely not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with time, you
Yes,
know,
it does.
which I'll be honest, that first church we were at, we weren't there for much longer after that, but it wasn't because of them leaving. It was for other things. But we have kept in touch with them, and obviously life goes on, and you know, ministry goes on. But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard, especially when you're doing life with those people too. Like, and it's not just like just another church member that you see on a weekly basis. That makes it's a whole other layer.
Well, when
added
you're
to it.
doing ministry and friendship together, it's such a deeper connection.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you
Yeah.
can have your ups and downs with that, mixing both, but like, to do that, that's the body. You know, like
Yeah.
that friendship, doing ministry, like
Yeah.
it's
a more
special.
intimate relationship for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like I love what you said, Jenna, and I can look back at the people that have left our church and, you know, youth that left a long time ago and go like, you know, most of those people I'm still in some kind of contact with. And it's not like I really can't like dwell like
Right.
there because I'll get sad. But like, when you can see what the Lord's done
Yeah.
in their lives, like Stephanie said, it really helps the healing process. But I think like if you're out there and people are leaving for a good reason and God's calling them elsewhere, like I think it's okay to be sad,
Yeah.
but don't also like go, I don't want to go through that again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and go, I'm not going to get close to people at the church because either we're going to leave or they're going to leave. Because, you know, you always have that as a ministry leader, that how long will you be at a church?
I think if you change the attitude to,
Yes.
I get to be with these people
Yeah.
until God calls them onto really cool
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
I get
That's
to
good.
walk alongside them. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost
good.
like you have to completely
That
change.
open hand.
Yeah. Like you have to walk in.
Yes.
Yeah.
That way.
Open-handed.
For sure.
Which is hard. You know, because if you feel like it's the best you've ever had and then to have it ripped from you.
I know.
But I think like in all of our situations, we can look and go like, it was the best for that season, but then God had another season.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as hard as it is, and, you know, for people out there that are going through that, and I know we'll go through that, you know, with people leaving, it is sad. And don't be, you know, selfish. Like I said, like, you know, I think humanly it's okay to go, no, we want you to stay here. But like, we have to trust that what they're doing is what God's called them to. And just like Stephanie said, like, what if we had begged? What if we had come up with some way to keep them?
Or maybe in your head you think, oh, they're making a bad choice,
Yes.
or they're making a bad decision, but they are very much like, no, I'm telling you, this is what the Lord
have to
wants.
move.
Like, at that point, you have to just take your hands off it and stop being like,
Yeah.
this is a mistake. At that point, you just have to love them and say, okay, I'm trusting you
Yeah.
in your relationship with God that perhaps this is the right thing.
Yeah.
And you have to just go, whoop.
Yep.
Either
that's hard.
way, you
Like-
gotta hope that they'll, you know, God will put them back on track, if not be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think, and also right now, we have, speaking of this, Alyssa, she was at our church for a long time, and she is no longer, her and her husband, moved elsewhere in the country and have a sweet baby girl, but she literally, had to leave, and she is somewhere in the world, protecting our country and doing military duties. But I got to see her the other day, like 2 Sundays ago. I got to FaceTime her. She was walking in somewhere and in the dark, and she was like, guess what I'm listening to when I'm taking my walk? She's like, I'm listening to the podcast.
Stop.
And so I was like, we need to tell her,
That's cool.
Alyssa, we love you and thank you for what
Thanks
you're
for
doing.
listening
Yes,
and
thank
for all
you,
you do.
Alyssa.
Yes, and I do miss you very much. The whole church misses you. So you are loved and missed. So anyways, but yeah. So whatever season you're in, we just want you to know you're not alone. We've been there, and we'll go through this again. And that's the beautiful thing about ministry is relationships, but also it can stink when people leave. But I think like to have that positive attitude, like you said, to go like, man, like to see what they're doing, and I get to have them for this amount of time really is special.
And then pray for that next season that they are stepping into, like God used them for your glory.
Oh yeah.
You know? I think that's super important
And
too.
pray that God will fill their roles.
Yeah.
Because they filled such big roles at church.
For sure.
And loved well and everything. And just the trust that Jesus will bring that person. And don't push it to happen.
Right.
Allow him to move in his timing. And it will.
Yeah.
You know.
So good.
This is good.
Well, we love you guys.
Yes.
And I hope this is encouraging to know you're not alone out there.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
I am here with you. Though we're far apart.
We don't ever know the words to this song.
You're always in our heart.
There you go.
Okay.
That works.
Well, until next time, we love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, friends, if you have enjoyed this episode as much as we have, please help us spread the word on Facebook and Instagram.
If you didn't know yet, Instagram is where all the fun is at. From dance reels on Wednesdays to spiritual encouragement and laugh out loud posts in between, there is something for everyone.
And last but certainly not least, if you could take a moment right now to stop what you're doing and give us a rating and review, even subscribe to our podcast, this seriously helps other people find us who wouldn't be able to otherwise. Thank you so much for your love and support. We hope you'll tune in next week.